If you're here, that means that you are possibly curious on how crocheters create their very own crochet patterns. Well, you are in luck because I am here to show you my step-by-step process on how I create my very own crochet patterns. Hello everyone and welcome to Amparo Wonderland. As promised, I am going to show you how I come up with my crochet patterns, and it's actually a lot easier than you probably think, so do not panic. It does make a difference on what exactly we are making. So today I'm going to make a book cover for this book over here called Lord of the Flies by William Golding. And I've been taking this book around with me everywhere. So I do want to add an extra layer of protection. So I thought, why not make a video of the process? Let's go ahead and let's get yarning. Alright, so the first thing I like to do is that I like to sketch out my idea. And the reason for that is because I do drive around a lot for work, and so I'm constantly thinking on what I want to create, so I like to write it down and sketch it out so that way I don't forget it. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here so that way you can see it a little better. And what I have an idea for my book cover, obviously a book cover has a front and a back, so I'm going to go ahead and draw my rectangles here. One will be the front and one will be the back, so this will be the front. It's good to title everything so that way when you go back to it, you know exactly what the heck you're looking at. So the front part of my book cover, what I would like to do is that I wanted to do like a pig in the front here, either like the top or the middle. I'm not really sure exactly where yet. So for now, I'm gonna go ahead and do it in the middle here. And that's the head. I'm just doing the head part. So it's gonna have things like that. And then the ears. But the pig is gonna be dead. If you've read the book, you know exactly why I am doing that. So the front is gonna have the pig in the front, and then the stitches that I'm using for the base, I'm gonna call the actual where everything goes on top of it. I'm calling that the base. So the base of the book cover, I am going to have kind of like a textured type of stitch that, and I wanted to have like kind of like a vine style type of thing, because in the book they're on an island and it's just, you know, not forest, it's yeah, it is a forest. So they have like trees and woods and forests or whatever, you know, is on that island. So that's what I'm planning for the texture. And then in the back, I'm going to have a fly. So I'm going to do like an oval. Not really sure how a fly is drawn, but I'm guessing that it's something like this. And then goes like that. Alright, and then I'm going to draw my eyes here like this. So it's going to look something like that. And then the back is going to be, again, that textured stitch that I've seen before. I don't know what it's called yet. So that will be my next step, which is my researching part. Okay, so we got our front part, which has the pig and it has dead, and then the back, which has the fly over here with those big bug eyes. And the color that I'm going to be using over here is red. So that's the next step. I label everything of the colors I'm going to be using. So the pig is going to be pink. And then the eyes are going to be black. I'm just going to embroider black X's. And then I do have two different pink colored yarn. So I'm going to do like the outer part of the pig light pink. So let's go ahead and put light pink. And then the nostrils here, I'm going to make them a darker pink. So I'll just put dark pink. Now for the back over here, again, this is going to be red because it's going to be just one long slab of the red textured pattern. And then our fly here, I'm still not sure what color to do, but I'm thinking I'm going to do black flies are sometimes are gray, but I'm not sure. The eyes are going to be red, and then the wings are going to be like this sparkly white color yarn that I have. And the reason I'm using these colors is because I wanted to use colors that I have available with me right now, just because my office is still inaccessible completely. So I'm doing what I can here. Now, so we got our front and the back, right? So now what I like to do is that I like to kind of like show my process of what I'm doing, if that makes any sense. So it's going to start off like this before I assemble it, right? And it's going to have those textured vines, the textured stitches, and then the front of the cover will be over here like this with the X. You don't have to draw it all out if you don't want to. I'm just doing it for you guys so you can see what I'm seeing in my head. And then there's going to be kind of like 3 sections, because we have the front, and then we have the spine of the book, right? And then we have the back. So the back, I'm going to put well, it looks like I have the fly on the right side here, but I'm thinking of putting the fly on this side. I'll have to think about it, but that's why it's just a sketch. So I either have it here or here, the fly. So for now, let's just put the fly here, and we'll see what happens with that. So this is the front, back, and then this is the spine. So now that I have my sketch here, I want to make sure that I title it as well. So this is going to be Lord of the Flies book cover. Dun, da, da. Hey, you always want to title your sketches, because when you come back to it, you want to make sure you know what the heck you're looking at. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and move on to the measurement part, which I will jot down in here as well. So I'm going to bring my book over, and I'm going to bring my measuring tape so that way you can see how I do it. Alright, so I zoomed out a little bit here so that way you can get a better view of what it is that I'm doing. So what I'm going to do first is that I'm going to measure out my book, right? So we want to make sure that we get the correct measurements, because if you don't get a measurement, you don't really know exactly how long or big you need to make your things. Now, what I like to do to make it easier on myself is that I like to add all these numbers up, because I am going to be making just one giant rectangle slab. And in order for me to know how long I need to make it, I need to add all of my measurements, so that way I know what to measure out when I'm creating it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom in over here really quick so that way you can look at what it is that I did. So I'm going to consider this the width of my piece here. So the width of my piece, it equals about 12 inches. And then the length of my piece, it equals about 10.5, because you have to take account of the height of this part and the bottom part of your book. So that way, when you are going this way, it depends which way you're going, but for me, in my case, I'm thinking about doing rows down this way and then stitches down this way. So I have to take that into consideration when I'm creating that, because what I'm doing is that after I create my slab, I'm just going to fold it in half, and then I'm going to mend the sides together to create the cover, and you just slip it in like a sleeve. Okay, so I've got my sketch here, so now I'm going to move on to the next step. Alright, so here we are. I have a playlist that is full of crochet stitches, which I have saved in the past. Stitches that I figured I could use for my future projects. So as I scroll down, I'm going to look for stitches that I like, that look like the stitch that I'm looking for. and I found one here. So I'm gonna go ahead and save that into a new playlist. And I'm gonna title this book cover. Oops. Book cover stitches. Private, create. And I'm gonna go ahead and look at my other playlists. Okay, so I've got this other playlist that I saved as well. It's by Rich Textures Crochet, and she has a whole bunch of stitches in here. And so I'm gonna look through the stitches that she has, and I'm just gonna keep doing this process until I find the one that I like, and I'm just gonna save them one by one onto my book cover stitches playlist that I created for this one. So that way I can look through them all and decide which one it is that I want to do. Okay, so I looked through the playlist that I have, and I selected my favorite stitches that I had saved in the past, and I saved 13 stitches in here. So now what I have to do next is that I'm going to take a look at these different stitches that I have saved in this new playlist, and that way I can see how they're done and see if they're too advanced, because I want to make sure that my beginner crocheters are able to follow along with the pattern that I create. So I'm going to go ahead and begin the process of looking through these different videos, so that way I can decide which one I really like and which one I think would be the best fit. So after I selected the stitch I wanted to use, which is the brioche crochet stitch, I went ahead and practiced it by creating this swatch here. And this swatch is actually called a gauge, which is very, very important, you guys. It is an important step that you do not want to skip if you are creating things that have to fit into, like a book cover. You have to make sure that the book fits into the cover. Also a shirt or pants, or anything like that. You could always chance it and not create a gauge, but chance is not always the best game to play. So the reason that a gauge is important is because it measures out how many stitches you use in 4 inches, and then also how many rows fit in 4 inches. And everybody has a different tension, everybody crochets differently, everybody holds their hook differently. And so your stitches are going to come out different from somebody else. So here you can see that my gauge came out to 18 stitches by 10 rows. So now I can go ahead and do the math and get the measurements I need and start creating the magic. Now I'm ready to start crocheting and, as I said, making the magic. What you need for this step is your notebook, where you will jot down your pattern as you go along. You want to have your stitch markers with you, which I call your best friends because they will be your best friends if they are not your best friends yet. You need a measuring tape if you are going to be measuring along, if you're creating something that needs to be a certain length or width. Also, your choice of yarn, of course, and you can't forget your hook of choice. Mine is the 4.25 millimeter hook, which gave me the swatch that I showed you previously. So it will look a little something like this, a little better, because I did kind of mess up on this one, but that's the magic of practice. As you can see, I did label this page where it has the pattern and the start off point with my slip knot and then the chains. So you want to make sure that you label everything, because when you come back to it, you don't want to play that guessing game. It's not fun to play the guessing game, because then, you will end up losing. No offense. But I'm going to go ahead and start this off with my slip knot. And then I'm going to go ahead and chain the 43 stitches, or the 43 chains. And then I'm going to measure it and see what that comes out to. Okay, so I've got my 43 chains here, and what I'm going to do is that I am going to measure this out first to make sure that it's not too long, and it does look a little on the longer side, but I may have to continue it because when you actually create the brioche crochet stitch, it could shrink a bit. So 43 stitches. I also have to keep in mind that I have to do a multiple of 6 plus 3. Okay, so I went ahead and added an extra 2 stitches. So I did 45 chains in total because 42 is divisible by 6. So that is a multiple of 6, and then you add the 3, which will make it the 45 chains. So I started off with 45 chains, and I'm gonna go ahead and start my first row. I am going to write down my row first because I do know how that goes, and I wanna make sure that I can follow along as I'm doing it. Okay, so I have my pattern written down here according to how many stitches I have or how many my startup chains are. So I am gonna go ahead and do this. If I follow this correctly, I should end up with the 3 slip stitches at the end here. So that way it can have that cool leaf looking thing at the end. I'll show you what I mean. As you can see, it is starting to take form as I go along my first row. So this is the little leaves I was telling you about that it looks like little leaves. I'm going to go ahead and measure this out just out of curiosity how long that makes with these 4 leaves. So it is getting to the 4.5 inches here. So I just need to really make sure that before I end it that I do measure it out, because if it is going to be over 9.5, I am going to have to frog this and do a less amount of stitches for my startup chain. Alright, so I got to the end of my row here, and as you can see, it is a whole inch longer than what I was hoping for. I needed 9.5 and it ended up being 10.5. However, because of the count that I need, I cannot remove one of the leaves, because if you remove one of the leaves, it's going to end up 9 inches instead of the 9.5. So it's better to have it longer or bigger than smaller, because if it's smaller it won't fit at all. So I am gonna keep my row this length, and I'm gonna keep progressing, and I'm gonna continue to write onto my pattern here on my notebook what is going on, so that way when I come back to it I know what happens the next time I create it. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to write row 2, which I already know what it is because I did follow that on my swatch here when I was practicing. So I'm going to go ahead and write it down here before I continue my crocheting process. So I'm not going to show you all of it because this will make it a way longer video. So to avoid that, I'm going to skip through to the part where I get my base done. So let's go ahead and take care of that. Here we go, all done. I have finished the base of the book cover. So it has this cool textured design on it. I love it. It has like vine style kind of thing, which is exactly what I was picturing in my head and for my design. So now that I have this done, what you should do if you're doing this is that you want to make sure that you double check your measurements. So I already did that, so I measured it out with my book, just like so, just to make sure that it is the size that I want. It did come out a little bit on the shorter side, as you can see, but I am okay with that because I do plan to do like a little wrappy thingy, so I'll add a button here and then a strap that goes around like this, and then it'll keep it all tidy, and then I will sew up the edges so it'll be like a sleeve. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next section of this creation, which is going to be the pig in the front. I decided to put it in the center, and then in the back is going to be the fly. I decided to have it over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and take care of that now. I will show you the process really quick on how to get to that point. So if we look back on the sketch, as you can see, I have my pig here. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to do one large circle, and then one smaller circle slash oval size, and then I'm going to attach them together. And then I will just embroider the dark pink in here and embroider the X's for the eyes, and the ears, again, I will do them separately and just create a triangle. You just go back and forth on the steps. So you do your research to see how to make a triangle, how to make an oval, how to make a square, how to embroider if you don't know how to embroider, and then you go back to your sketch and you just like point out what you want to do, circle and all that. So by the end of this process of the going back and forth of the steps, you will end up with your final product, which looks like this. Look at it! I am so happy with how this came out. I have my piggy in the front there. It has this beautiful texture with the fly in the back. It is exactly how I pictured it, and the size is perfect for the book too. I guess the measurements I did were correct, which is good. That's why it's good to measure your book out as you go along and also do the measurements, which is like kind of the boring part of the process, but at the same time it is very important if you want to make sure that you have the correct size of the project that you're creating or whatever it is that you're making. So another important part when you're creating a crochet pattern is that you want to make sure that you do write down every single step that you make, so that way it will be easier to come back to it. And that means that I do have this pattern for you. So if you are interested in creating this awesome book sleeve with this beautiful brioche stitch that I found, you can find that link in the description box down below. It will say free pattern, and you just gotta sign up for the email list, and then you will have the link to be able to find the free pattern for this Lord of the Flies book sleeve. I did also create a video tutorial on how to create the brioche stitch, just in case the pattern is a little difficult to understand, which I try not to make that happen. I am very detailed in my patterns, but if for any reason the writing just doesn't connect in your head, I did create an actual video tutorial of the brioche stitch, which you can actually find in my YouTube channel now. Or if you like, you can find the link in the description box down below. Now, also, before I let you go, I do want to let you know that I have some really exciting news to share with you. I have officially joined the bandwagon and have written a book. It is a step-by-step guide that teaches you how to create your own crochet pattern like this one, from idea to finished design, which is exactly what I just showed you in this video. If you enjoyed the tips I shared in this video, the book dives even deeper with easy to follow instructions and supportive guidance every step of the way. The book is available for pre-order now. If you missed out on the discounted price, do not worry. You will receive a gift when you purchase your copy, and you'll also be invited to join the exclusive crochet community, where you can join all crocheters alike and discuss anything crochet. And I'm really excited about that. I can't wait to see you all there. So go ahead and grab your copy, and I will see you in the Amparo Wonderland crochet community. You can find the link in the description box down below. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, just leave it down in the comment section and I will respond to you as soon as I can. If crochet pattern is not your go-to, I do have a video where it shows you 5 ways that you can make money with crochet. So if you are interested, you can go ahead and click the video right over here, and I will see you there. As always, thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!